Today we're going to try something slightly different. Normally, I highly script these reviews, and based on some feedback that I've gotten, people would like to see something a little bit more informal. So, I'm going to do this review a little bit more off the cuff. Hopefully it'll be something more along the lines of what, my audience would like to see. So, as I'm making this video less formal, I figured it'd be very appropriate to talk about something a little bit more formal. So we're going to talk about sword sticks, specifically a sword cane called the Hanwei Bird Dog Sword Cane. Let's take a look at it. The Hanwei Bird Dog Sword Cane is item SH2132 in the Hanwei catalog. It is beautifully crafted to a quality standard of sword canes costing much more. The rosewood shaft makes for a classic appearance. The head of the cane is investment cast in stainless steel to preserve its finish indefinitely. The carbon steel blade is fully tempered, and a latch secures the sword firmly in the scabbard section. A sword stick, or cane sword, is a cane with a concealed blade. The sword stick was a popular accessory throughout the 18th and 19th century. During this period, it was becoming less socially acceptable to openly carry a sword, so concealing the blade became a necessity for those who wished to keep a sword at their side for self-defense. The design and functionality of the sword stick varied greatly. Most were designed with a simple thrusting blade of varying lengths. Some were designed with a spring-loaded crossguard. Soon after the sword sticks became popular, other gadget canes started to be created. Instead of a blade, it would conceal other things, such as the tools of the trade for the individual, like a doctor's cane, or a compass so you never lose your way while walking. And it often got quite ridiculous. I've even seen one of these gadget canes at the Berman World History Museum, which included a gun in the handle, a sword, and the shaft was a flute. And as odd as it seems, that isn't the only example of a musical instrument in a cane. But I digress, because we aren't here to talk about gadget canes. We are here to talk about the good old basic sword stick. So let's take a look at this one from Hanwei, the Bird Dog Sword Cane, a nice piece that captures a bit of the essence of the history behind its antique counterparts. Here are the specifications. Note that the length of the blade is much longer than you would find in a lot of other sword canes. And also note the point of balance, as I will be talking about that later. When you begin to talk about aesthetics for a sword cane, you're really going to focus on one major thing, and that is right here at the head of the cane. Now there's a lot of different designs out there, and they vary between very fantasy-esque, etc., but I think what this one does better than almost any you can find out there that's productionized is that it kind of harkens back to the gentleman English. The idea of a huntsman, a dog, on the cane, and the detail on this molded head is really something exquisite. It's basic though, it blends in. This cane could sit on a rack with many other canes and it wouldn't necessarily stand out. And you don't want that to be the case, especially if it's hiding a blade inside. Now, the wood grain is nice. It's well stained with a dark wood. The only thing I'm not real fond of aesthetically is the little rubber tip here. Now, that's very common in a lot of modern canes. I probably could have done without it, but I understand why it's there. And of course, you have the little ringlets that act as the separation point between the blade and the sheath. Now, the blade itself isn't anything real special. The fuller on it isn't always even. It's an okay blade, not a lot of quality in it beyond the tempering and the proper use of metal. It serves its purpose. It's sharp, especially at the point. It's moderately sharp at the edge. And so having it aesthetically pleasing is less of a concern because this blade spends most of its time very well hidden. Okay, so let's get to an important part, the functionality. Now, as most people would probably guess, you're never really going to functionally use this sword cane very much. It's more an item of interest than it is of function. However, it is a functional sword. I will say that the height of the cane is just about right to actually be used as a cane, although one of the problems is it rattles. That blade is very loose inside of its sheathing, and I think that actually detracts from this sword cane a bit. Now, this is something you see in a lot of sword canes that are productionized. I was hoping to not see it in this cane, but it's there. And it's noticeable even when you're just walking and using it as a cane. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having a hidden blade when you can hear it. Functionally, as you remove the sword from its sheath, you have what you would expect. You have the proper tempered steel. It's flexible. The weight, the point of balance being where it is very far back on the handle because of how heavy this head is. But what that actually does when you're holding it is it gives you very good point control. And so that is something you would want to have. Now, the bird dog head is currently aligned with the blade, which means if you were to hold it in kind of a pistol grip, you would actually know where the edge alignment of your blade is. However, this head could be removed. It is a screw top head, and upon doing that, you could possibly get it kind of out of alignment, and that's problematic because you'd want to know where your edge is. Generally speaking, though, with a sword cane, that's not too big of a deal because this is primarily a thrusting weapon. You're not using it just to cut with. And so it has its nice point, and you have that very good point control. So even if it was slightly out of alignment, you would still be able to get the point where you want it. Now, I will say that the overall quality of this cane in terms of a functionality standpoint is only moderately so, and I don't think you're going to get much better quality out of a sword cane unless you're really going for a very well-made, customized sword cane or sword stick, and not one that is kind of productionized like a Hanwei would be. However, overall, I think the functionality of this is probably right where you would actually want it. So my overall thoughts on this sword cane is actually much higher than some of the other ones that I've found, even some that I have purchased. A friend of mine has one that has a wolf head, but it's got a stainless steel blade, not much good for that one. I did pick up a Kit Ray one time, mostly because it advertised Damascus steel. However, when you actually look at the blade, it's the fake Damascus. It's not actually pattern welded, and so it's actually just stainless steel with a veneer. And so that one's less functional, although I will say that one does actually have flexibility in the blade. But where this one I think really shines is that as a cane, without the hidden blade, it serves its purpose and it looks really nice. And aesthetics are really important with this. As I talked about in the intro to the video, I mean, this was a fashion accessory as much as it was for self-defense. And you wanted this thing to stand out. You wanted the head to be both noticeable but subtle enough. And it's a fine balance. It's a very fine balance that would have had to been found. And so, especially talking about sword canes, you don't want to draw attention to it, but you also don't want it to be so poor looking that everybody looks down on you, being the proper English gentleman, as it were. So, when I look at this, I think this, from a production standpoint, this is probably the best sword cane you can get, especially for the price. It's not until you go much further higher in the price range, as well as getting custom built sword sticks, that you're really going to end up getting anything better than this. So, top of the line for production. However, overall, I don't give it high marks, mostly because of the rattle in the blade, which is kind of a big distraction when you're actually walking, and also because the blade itself hasn't been made to quite the standard of quality that I would normally expect from Hanwei. So overall, I do believe it's a good sword cane. I believe you get exactly what you're paying for here. However, it's not the best. So here it is, the Hanwei Bird Dog Sword Cane. I give it a 3 out of 5.